Episode 1, Missing Android Icons, Wooden Tesco's, Dog Poo Troubles, Biscuit Preferences and Football Gone Mad. This is the Poddercast.
Well, what do you think about Tesco's? The wooden Tesco's in Filey? They're
Sorry,
the same crap.
I'm having issues right now. Could not understand what you said.
Well, what can I say, you dumbass? What sort of issues you having? Come on then.
Looks like you're bringing some heat today. What's on your mind, Night Tripper? You ready to roll or just having a little fun with me?
Hey, what do you think about Tesco's in Filey, the wooden Tesco's?
Our Tesco's in Filey, wooden ones no less. That's got a whole vibe to it. Maybe they've got that old school charm, like something carved from oak and passed down through generations. Are the scores real, or are we talking more about the test of time, like wooden Tesco's? Or is there something deeper in those test scores that needs to be cracked?
Well, I think it's still the same old rubbish products inside. But, hey-ho, I suppose you've got to buy your rubbish from somewhere, haven't you? I suppose a man's got to eat.
True that. It's the same old story, right? Sometimes you've just got to go for it, even if it's not the best. A little bit of everything from the wooden walls, and at least you know what you're getting. Guess that's the trade-off, reliability, even if it's a little on the mess side. What's your next move with the old rubbish then, huh?
Well, my next move is you eat it and then throw the rest away.
The classic next ball wins. That's how the game goes, right? No backing down now. The pressure's on for that next move. What's it going to be?
Is that the 8 ball you're on about?
So we're talking about something deeper, huh? Not the 8 ball, but something else that's got that weight to it. What's the real game we're playing here then?
The game is, there is no game.
The game is no game. That's a whole vibe. As for today's agenda, here's what we've got lined up so far. 1, missing Android icons. Where'd they go? Let's track down those elusive digital symbols. 2, wooden Tesco stores, the timber aesthetic of UK Tesco stores. What's the deal with that? 3, dog poo versus dog pools, a deep dive into the contrast. One's a mess, the other's a joy. 4, sports thoughts, the Night Trippers take on the world of sports, all smooth and edgy. 5, biscuit opinions, crunchy or soft, dunkable or not. What's the verdict on the classic biscuit? That's the agenda. Ready to roll whenever you are.
What about the Jaffa cake? Is it a biscuit or is it a cake?
The classic Jaffa cake debate, cake or biscuit. It's a fine line, but here's the breakdown. Technically, it's a cake. The UK tax law classifies it as a cake, not a biscuit, because of its sponge base and how it reacts when it goes stale. Cakes go hard, biscuits go soft. But we all know it feels more like a biscuit in your hand, especially with that crunchy chocolate coating and orange centre. So what's the verdict from the Night Tripper?
Well, the verdict
is it cake or biscuit, or is it its own unique category?
Well, the verdict is this. I'm not over keen on them, if I'm honest. So I think it might have its own unique category, but I think you may well be right in your summing up that a cake goes hard and a biscuit goes soft. So I don't think there's any more to be said on that score. Okay.
Fair enough, Night Tripper. Sounds like you've made peace with the Jaffa cake's ambiguous identity. If it's not your thing, then no need to dive deeper. It's one of those debates that keeps coming back around, but you've got the right take on it. What's next for us on the agenda today?
Well, what is your favourite biscuit?
Good question. If I had to pick, I'd say a classic digestive biscuit. Simple, a bit crunchy, and perfect for dunking in tea. It's got that balanced vibe, don't you think? Not too sweet, not too plain. What about you? What's your favourite Night Tripper?
Well, I like a custard cream. I think they're quite a little bit more-ish. But if I had to have the digestives, I'd have to have chocolate digestives, preferably milk, rather than plain. But that's just my own personal choice. I don't mind the ginger nut either. Is that okay?
Nice choices, Night Tripper. Custard creams are definitely more-ish. One bite and it's hard to stop, right? And chocolate digestives? Hard to beat. The milk chocolate ones have that perfect sweetness. The ginger nut? bold and spicy. Definitely not a bad option when you want a bit of a kick. I'm all about the personal preferences. Are we dunking, or are they just straight up snack style for you?
Oh no, we're definitely not dunking. It's just straight up snack style for me. But I respect people that do dunk. And the trouble is, all the mess ends up in the bottom of your tea or coffee, doesn't it?
Yeah, you've got a point. Dunking can turn into a bit of a disaster if you're not careful. All that crumbly mess floating at the bottom of your tea or coffee, not ideal. Respect to the dunkers, but it's definitely a high-risk, high-reward situation. Straight-up snack style sounds like the safer and cleaner option. What's your go-to drink with those biscuits then?
Well, I suppose it'd be Earl Grey tea, preferably loose leaf, without milk or sugar. What's your personal preference?
Earl Grey, classic choice. The bergamot's perfect for that subtle citrus twist, and loose leaf really does take it up a notch. No milk or sugar, just pure tea vibes. If I had a personal preference, I'd go with a nice green tea, light, refreshing and clean. It's simple but effective, just like the vibe you're bringing. Do you ever switch it up, or is Earl Grey your go-to every time?
Earl Grey is more or less my go-to every time. I will take a green tea perhaps now and again, and I will perhaps just have an ordinary black tea. Again, no milk or sugar, but I'm not really too fussed with that. If I do have it, I have to have it weak.
Solid choices, Night Tripper. Earl Grey's definitely got that signature vibe, but it's good to mix it up with a bit of green tea or a classic black when the mood strikes. And the wee tea, nice, just a little splash, keeping it light. It's all about the balance, right? No need for overcomplicating it. How's your tea setup looking these days? Got a favourite teapot or mug?
Well, I use both, if I'm honest. Again, I use a small teapot to go in my Huddersfield Town mug, and it has a tea strainer inside, so if I use loose leaf it doesn't all come out. But I also have my favourite pot to have with a tea strainer. But
sounds like you've got a solid tea setup, mixing the casual with the formal. The teapot for that cosy vibe, and the strainer ensures you get that perfect brew without the mess. I love the Huddersfield Town mug. Feels like a little touch of home and pride with every sip. Keeping it formal too with your tea choices. Nothing wrong with that. It's about setting the right mood, right? Are you more of a slow sipper, or do you prefer to knock it back in one go when the tea's just right?
Well, I like the tea to be just at the correct temperature, and then I drink it rather quickly, but in small quantities, rather than just knocking it all back all at once.
Got it. I'll keep it clean. You're all about that perfect temperature for sipping small quantities to savour it. All right, after this, let's jump into the agenda. What's next on the agenda for today's podcast? 1, missing Android icons. Where did they go? 2, wooden Tesco stores, exploring the timber vibe in UK stores. 3, dog poo versus dog pools, a cheeky look at both worlds. 4, sports thoughts, the Night Tripper's take on the game. 5, biscuit opinions, from custard creams to ginger nuts. Let's dive into the crunch. Ready to carry on, Night Tripper?
Yep, let's speak about the missing icons, shall we?
All right, let's dive into those missing Android icons.
Right here.
They're here 1 minute, gone the next, like they've disappeared into the digital ether. So what's really going on here? Could it be a glitch? An update that wiped them out? Or maybe they're just hiding in the depths of your settings somewhere, laughing at us?
Well, I don't think they'll be
laughing. Do you think? Where do you think they've gone, Night Tripper?
Well, I don't know, but has there been a problem with Google Chrome? I keep getting spurious messages about updating now, about...
Yes, there have been issues with missing icons in Google Chrome. Users have reported that after updates, icons sometimes disappear or change unexpectedly. If you're experiencing this, updating Chrome to the latest version might help. Alternatively, clearing the app's cache or reinstalling it could resolve the issue.
Yeah, I'm not too big on technology here, so I don't really know what I'm doing. But I do have Google Chrome beta installed.
No worries at all, Night Tripper. Technology can be tricky sometimes, and it's perfectly fine if it's not your thing. If you ever need help with something tech related, just let me know, and I'll make it simple. Would you prefer someone to walk you through it, or would you rather leave it for now and come back to it later?
I think I may well leave it for now and come back later, because I lose the will to live. You know, it does me shedding.
Sounds like you're figuring it out at your own pace, and that's totally cool. You can always come back to it whenever you feel like it.
Yeah.
Take things at your own speed. No rush at all. What's next on your mind, though? You're in the driver's seat here.
Well, we'll go to wooden Tesco's in Filer.
Wooden Tesco's in Filer. Interesting shift. Are we talking about something metaphorical here, or are we diving into a literal concept like wooden structures or the way things are measured?
Well,
Filer could bring in some deeper connections too, especially if we're looking at categories of life or biology. What's your take on the wooden test scores, Night Tripper?
Well, it's functional, and it's a structural thing, I guess. But I suspect the real reason why a lot of it's got wood on it is for the green issue rather than anything else. I think the Green Party will be happy that it's got a sustainable product.
That makes sense, using wood for its functional structural purposes and tying it to the green issue. Wood is sustainable, renewable, and much more environmentally friendly than other materials like plastic or metal. So it's not just about aesthetics, it's about reducing environmental impact. Could be part of the bigger push for sustainability in construction and design. What do you think about that whole eco movement? Does it feel like it's starting to take root in more places, or still just a trend?
I think it's just a trend. I think people get grants and brownie points for using sustainable products. I just wonder what the lifespan of them will be. I realise they'll be treated for rot and things like that.
I see what you're saying. It's like people are being encouraged, maybe even rewarded, for choosing more sustainable, eco-friendly options. It's like the green movement is becoming part of the mainstream, where your choices, big or small, get recognised. It's an interesting shift where people's lives are intertwined with these discussions, and eco-consciousness is a topic more and more folks are engaging in. Do you think this will become a long-term change, or do you feel like it's just a passing phase for now?
I think it'll be a long-term change, but I certainly think that the powers that be are making a lot of money out of the green eco thing, on the back of saying it's green and it.
You've got a point there. It's like the eco-friendly movement could evolve into something huge, especially as businesses start seeing the potential to profit from it. Companies might capitalise on sustainability to boost their image or sales, even though the core idea might still be about saving the planet. It's a tricky balance between genuine change and profit-driven trends. Do you think people are catching on to that mix? Or do you feel like it's still flying under the radar for most?
No, I think people have caught on to it. As in all things to do with the climate change and green issues, not just wooden Tesco's in Filey, but all over the world. People are making a lot of money out of green issues.
Absolutely, I see what you mean. The green issues are more intertwined with social change than ever, and people are definitely making strides to address them, not just with eco-friendly products, but also within broader societal shifts. However, as you say, it's not just about tackling problems for the planet, it's also about the financial side of things. There's a lot of money to be made from the green movement, and it's shaping industries in a big way. Do you think this could end up creating more genuine change, or could it just lead to a cycle where the focus shifts more towards profit than the actual issues?
I think it's just the cycle shift to more profit, on the back of the Green Party and things. What's your take on it?
I think you're saying that introducing these changes could lead to more experience and perhaps more awareness, especially at the start of movements or trends. People get exposed to ideas through events or parties that focus on these green issues, which helps raise awareness. As for my response, I think you're right. Awareness is key, and the more it's brought into the spotlight, the more people start thinking about it, even if it's part of a bigger trend or a party vibe. Now, for the next special, let's move on to it. What's on the agenda for that?
Dog poo.
We're diving into the world of dog poo now. A real classic. It's something everyone's encountered, and yet it's a topic that never loses its, shall we say, impact. And whether it's stepping in it or trying to avoid it on the sidewalk, dog poo is one of those everyday nuisances. But what's the deeper take here? Is it just the mess, or is there something more to this that connects to the bigger picture of urban life, cleanliness, or even pet culture? What's your view, Night Tripper?
Well, I think...
Sorry, I'm having issues right now. Could not understand what you said.
Well, you'll have to wait a minute. But I think people...
I see what you're doing there, Night Tripper. Playing with the concept of dog poo and making it into a bit of a challenge, huh? All right, no matter the mess, I'm always ready to dive into the deeper topics with you. What's next on the agenda? Still on dog poo, or shall we shift gears?
No, we'll stay with dog poo.
Gotcha. Let's move to dog pool, the ultimate splash zone for pups. The idea of a dog pool brings to mind a cool, refreshing place for our furry friends to cool off, play, and enjoy. But do you think dog pools are a passing trend, or will they become a regular thing in dog-friendly spots? What's your take on dog pools? Essential or just another nice to have for the pet world?
Just another nice to have for the pet world. There's plenty of natural streams and things out there for them to take a dip in, and ponds.
Absolutely. Dog pools tap into a whole new level of pet care, especially with natural flows and systems that could help keep the environment friendly. It's not just about cooling off the dog, it's about using nature's elements in a way that benefits both the pets and the environment. It's like giving them a little slice of paradise while staying eco-conscious. Do you think more pet-friendly spaces should start adopting this kind of approach?
No, I don't. Dogs should be in wild places and natural places to roam about and chase the ball or something like that. And I think the owners that don't pick up their dog poo are disgusting, but also some pick it up and throw it over a wall in a plastic bag, and it stays there for years and years, which is pretty disgusting too.
I get what you're saying. It's about creating natural, accessible spots for dogs to enjoy, not just a manufactured pool in a confined space. The idea of letting them roam and experience natural environments is key, rather than having something overly artificial. And yes, the whole doggy bag situation, it's a strange paradox, isn't it? Trying to take care of the environment while sometimes creating more waste. It's like we want to make things easier for our pets, but we end up complicating it with things like plastic bags and disposable solutions. It's a tricky balance. Do you think we'll ever get it right, or will it always be a bit messy?
I don't think we'll ever get it right. It'll always be a bit messy. What we really need to do is toilet train his dog to use the toilet in the house. But I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
Haha, imagine that. Toilet training a dog to use the toilet like us. It would be a game changer, but yeah, probably not something we'll see anytime soon. It's definitely a messy situation we're in, trying to keep the balance between convenience and the environment. For now, it's back to picking up after them and hoping they don't leave any surprises around. Maybe one day there'll be a magical solution, but until then, we do what we can. How do you feel about all that? Do you see any feasible solutions coming down the line?
No, I don't, if I'm honest, because we are a nation of pet lovers, and I can't see anything altering anytime soon.
I I get what you're saying. It's tough to see much changing when pets are such a big part of our lives, and a lot of people just accept the mess as part of the deal. We're creatures of habit, and it's easier to keep things as they are rather than shift to something more eco-friendly. But sometimes even the smallest changes can build up over time. Maybe it's about those little steps like better waste disposal or more responsible pet care practices, even if it doesn't seem like it'll change the big picture right away. What do you think it would take for more people to start shifting their mindset on this?
I think it's a non-starter really, because I don't think people will change their mindset. I think people's minds are pretty set on what they do. I can't see it altering.
That's a strong point. You're right. People's ideas and habits often set the tone for what they do and how they approach things. It's all about what they've grown accustomed to. If there's no big shift in thinking, then things are likely to stay the same. Maybe, like you said, it would have to start with a bigger movement, or even the next generation thinking differently about pets and the environment. It's a slow burn, but you're right to say that ideas form the foundation of actions. What would you say is the first step people should take to change things up, even just a little bit?
Well, that's a difficult one. People or pet owners really need to be educated.
It definitely is a tricky one, Night Tripper. Shifting people's mindsets, especially around something as ingrained as pet care, takes time and effort. Maybe it starts with small, relatable changes. Things people can do without feeling overwhelmed, like getting people to use biodegradable bags or promote more sustainable pet products. It's not going to change everything overnight, but it's a start, right? What's your gut feeling? Are we likely to see any change soon, or is it still a distant dream?
Well, I think more disposable bags, biodegradable, should be on the market. Unfortunately, I suppose they cost more money than the other type of plastic bags.
Exactly, that's the problem, isn't it? The more sustainable options like biodegradable bags are usually pricier, and not everyone's willing to pay the extra cost, especially if the plastic ones are more readily available and cheaper. And it's a tough situation where the eco-friendly option still doesn't feel accessible enough to make a big difference across the board. It would take a shift in how we value sustainability and the long-term benefits over short-term costs. Do you think enough people would be willing to make the switch if prices for the eco options came down, or is there something else that needs to change first?
I think people would make the switch, but you've got to phase out the other ones.
Yeah, I get that, but that's always the tricky part, right? Even if people would make the switch, there are always those hurdles, like the price, convenience, or maybe just the general resistance to change. Maybe if the benefits were made clearer, like long-term savings or environmental impact, more people would lean toward it. But it really does feel like it's going to take a lot more than just a price drop to shift the tide. What do you think would be the key to making that switch happen on a bigger scale?
Well, they need to be cheap and readily available to the biodegradable ones, but we'll always get a certain amount of people that will just let the dog do the business wherever and not pick it up anyway.
You're spot on. It's about making biodegradable options cheap and easily accessible. That's when the shift could start happening. But as you said, there will always be a handful of people who won't pick up after their pets, no matter what options are available. It's just the way some people operate. Now, moving on to the next topic, let's dive into sports thoughts. What's on your mind in that realm? Anything in particular you want to break down or comment on?
Well, I do follow quite a few sports, especially football and cricket. But the Premier League in football, the season hasn't started yet, and I can tell you who the top...
the Premier League. That's a big one. It's such a high-octane mix of talent, drama and passion. Even if you don't follow it closely, The Premier League still seems to make waves with big transfers, rivalries, and those moments that get the whole world talking. Do you think the Premier League's dominance is here to stay, or do you see other leagues catching up in terms of excitement and global reach?
Just quickly going back to the Premier League, do we think there's too much money sloshing about in the Premier League when the likes of Liverpool can go pay £100 million for a player, and me being a Huddersfield supporter, you could buy the whole team for that? What's your take on it?
That's a real point you're raising. £100 million for a single player, and for clubs like Liverpool, that kind of money is becoming more common. Meanwhile, clubs like Huddersfield could field their entire squad for the same price. It really highlights the huge gap in financial power within the Premier League and football in general. The question is, does all that money actually improve the game? Yes, big teams can afford the best players, but it also creates an uneven playing field for clubs lower down the table. Huddersfield, for example, would need a different strategy: smart transfers, building from within, or focusing on youth development. In a way, the gap is getting wider, but that doesn't necessarily mean the game itself is getting better. Do you think it's healthy for the sport to keep growing in this direction, or do you reckon something needs to change to maintain balance?
Well, I reckon something needs to change. The thing is, if they want to continue down the same road, perhaps the top 10 clubs in England should form a European league and beggar off with all the big money, and then ordinary teams can play out the game on an even playing field.
That's a bold suggestion, but honestly, it might be the kind of shake-up football needs. A European league with just the top clubs might let them go off and create their own mega money world, leaving the domestic leagues to function with more balance. Ordinary teams could have more of a fighting chance. And maybe we'd see a return to competitive spirit, where it's about skill, teamwork and strategy rather than just who's got the deepest pockets. But on the flip side, if those top clubs took off, it would change the dynamics of the whole sport. Less competition at the top could make the leagues feel less exciting, but at the same time, it could bring more focus back to the lower tier teams and the real football they play. It's tricky, but I think it might be worth considering if football really wants to keep its heart. Would that kind of shift be something you'd be behind, or do you think the European League would end up being more about the spectacle and less about the sport?
Well, it certainly would be a spectacle, but I just think all the big money teams in Europe then can go and play amongst themselves, and to give smaller clubs more chance of winning something like the FA Cup or something like that, which would be a fairer thing, because real fans...
You've got a solid point there. If the big money teams were off in their own European league, it would definitely open up opportunities for smaller clubs to make a run at trophies like the FA Cup. Without the financial clout of the top clubs, it could make the cup competitions feel a lot more competitive and exciting for everyone else. Right now, the FA Cup feels a little diluted because the bigger teams tend to dominate, often fielding second-string sides. But if the playing field was more level, a club like Huddersfield could realistically dream of winning something big, which would bring back that true underdog magic. Do you think this shift could also help revive some of the romance of football that's been lost to the modern money game? Or would it just make the top-tier football feel like a glorified exhibition?
Well, I certainly think it'd help the smaller clubs and bring something back to the true fans, because clubs like Huddersfield, most of their fan base is in and around the Huddersfield area, rather than Taiwan and places, Singapore and places like that, like the Manchester Uniteds have got in this world.
Exactly, you've hit the nail on the head. The local fan base, that's where the true heart of the club lies. For teams like Huddersfield, it's not about global appeal, it's about community and passion within the local area. When you look at clubs like Manchester United, their fan base is global and it changes the dynamic. Their success is often more about marketing and massive TV deals than the club's roots and traditions. If those top clubs broke off, it could really give smaller clubs a chance to reconnect with their local communities and focus more on the sport rather than just expanding their brand. The true fans, the ones who go to every match, sing the chants and wear the scarves, they're the ones who keep the soul of the game alive. Do you think a shift like that could lead to more loyalty from fans, or would it end up just being a change of the money-making game?
Well, perhaps a bit of both, really. But I think the fans would have more connection.
Yeah, it would probably end up being a bit of a mixed bag. On one hand, you'd see a revival of loyalty. Fans could really rally behind their local teams again, and there'd be more of a community vibe, as it should be. On the other hand, the money side might always be there, lurking around, especially as TV deals and sponsorships still shape the game. But at least there would be a shift towards local passion rather than just global commercialism. It would be interesting to see if clubs like Huddersfield could really grow their fan base back to something more organic and community-driven. Do you think it's possible for smaller clubs to really make a dent in the sport without the top clubs dominating, or is the current setup just too ingrained now?
Well, I think it's probably too ingrained. But, I mean, there'll always be the haves and the have-nots, because there's smaller clubs than Huddersfield that will be struggling, and they'll look at Huddersfield and think they're money bags.
You're right, there'll always be that divide between the haves and the have-nots. Even if clubs like Huddersfield got a bit of a break, there are still smaller clubs out there that would be struggling even more. And those teams might look at Huddersfield and think, well, they've got more than we do, even if it's a drop in the ocean compared to the top clubs. It's a tough one, isn't it?
It is.
There's always going to be a hierarchy in football, whether it's about money, location, or resources. That's just the nature of the game. But maybe, just maybe, if the big clubs took a step back, it would at least give those mid-tier clubs more room to grow and compete without constantly being overshadowed. What do you think would be the key to making sure smaller clubs don't get left behind in that scenario?
Well, I think some of the bigger clubs like Man U and Liverpool and Arsenal and places like that, I think some of their wealth should trickle down to the smaller clubs. More loan players at a reasonable price, so they'd stand more of a chance.
You're right again. Big clubs like Manchester United, Liverpool and Arsenal have such a strong financial presence that they essentially set the tone for the whole sport. They're in a position where they can attract top players, sign big deals and influence social media and the global football scene in ways that smaller clubs can't. This trickling down of resources to the bigger clubs creates a massive gap. Their success isn't just about the quality of play, but also about creating a brand, engaging in global marketing, and having the financial power to attract the best talent. Smaller clubs, on the other hand, often have to rely on smart scouting, youth development, and a lot of luck to make a mark. That said, social media and the global reach of football now give smaller clubs some opportunity to build their own presence, even if they don't have the same financial backing. Do you think the gap can ever close, or will it always be the big clubs driving the narrative with the smaller clubs just playing catch up?
I don't think it'll change. I think the big clubs will just get bigger for the simple reason a lot of them are owned by foreign countries, really. We can't compete with...
You're absolutely right. The big clubs are likely to keep growing, especially with backing from different countries and massive investments coming in.
Oh.
It's almost like a snowball effect. Bigger brands attracting more attention, more sponsorships, and more talent. The global appeal only adds to their power, making it harder for the smaller clubs to keep up. Clubs like Manchester City, for example, have been transformed with foreign investment, and you see similar trends across Europe. The influence of money from other countries makes the game even more international and less about local roots. It does feel like the big clubs will continue to dominate the narrative, but maybe in small ways we'll see some shifts, if not in the wealth, at least in the fan experience and community engagement. Do you think the real shift will happen outside the top clubs, like in the grassroots or community leagues, where the true essence of football might still be alive?
Well, the big clubs charge such a lot of money for the season tickets. I'm surprised that some of their loyal supporters can even afford a ticket, whereas in the lower leagues they're a more reasonable price. So you get, as you watch the lower leagues, you seem to be watching a more honest game.
Really get a sense of the community and loyalty that's often missing in the top leagues. It's not about the flashy commercialism, it's about true support for the team, often with much lower ticket prices and a more personal experience. The lower leagues have that charm where the fans feel directly connected to the club. There's something raw and real about it. In the big leagues, the prices are so high and it feels like you're just another customer rather than a fan. But in the lower leagues, the atmosphere is different. It's more authentic, with people who've supported their local team for generations. It's a whole different vibe. Do you think the financial pressures on big clubs could eventually lead to a bigger cultural shift back towards this more local, genuine fan experience? Or do you think it's just the way the sport is heading now?
I think that's just the way the sport is heading. But if all the debtors called in the debts for same as Manchester
United... Yeah, it feels
United,
like the direction is pretty set, doesn't it? The money, the marketing, the global reach... It's all part of football's evolution into a much more commercialised world. But I get the sense that part of the soul of the sport, especially in those smaller clubs, might get lost in the shuffle. Still, I wouldn't rule out the possibility that as fans get more disillusioned with the high costs and corporate feel of the top leagues, there could be a resurgence of interest in the more grassroots football experience. People might start looking for that genuine connection to the sport again. And maybe we'll see a shift back toward valuing community and authentic fan experiences. Do you think people will eventually yearn for that balance between the spectacle of big football and the authenticity of lower league support? Or is the money-driven model here to stay for good?
I think the money-driven model's here to stay for good. The fan base for the local small clubs, it'll never die, but they'll stay
I totally
loyal.
Get you. The money-driven model is so embedded in the big clubs now that it's hard to imagine them moving away from it. The financial systems that support these clubs, with all the sponsorships, TV deals and global fan bases, make it a powerful, almost unstoppable force. Smaller clubs may never reach that level of financial clout, and the disparity between the two will likely keep growing. But as you said, it's almost a given that the big clubs will always have this financial advantage. So in a way, that's just the reality of modern football. The challenge then is finding ways to keep the heart of the game alive, especially for those who aren't at the top. And with that, we're probably coming to the end of today's chat, aren't we?
I think we are.
Do you feel like we've hit the key points for now?
I think we have, yes.
Great. We covered some solid ground today. If you ever want to dive into these topics again or anything else, you know where to find me. Catch you later, Night Tripper.
Yeah, see you now. Stay out of trouble.